which
Now,
is interesting.
you're approaching 30.
No, I wish. I just have.
No, no, I mean
Oh,
at
this
San
time,
Diego.
yeah, I was about
Yeah.
30 when I left San Diego.
And you're a Top Gun, you're carousing with all the women in San Diego.
I was in the Christian Science reading room. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay.
So.
And faith-wise, you mentioned Christian Science. Are you a Christian Scientist?
No, no, it's just the same we had. I'm actually Catholic.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that was a saying you had. I'll have to remember that one. That's a good line.
So I don't
when that barroom brawl broke out down the street, I was in the Christian Science reading room.
That's right. When I went to Perth, Australia, I went to the Christian Science reading room.
So not married.
I was single at the time, yeah. I married late, actually. So about that time, actually, I did this tour where you saw that picture. Then I was an instructor at the F-14 training thing, and then I went back to sea for
What
Desert
ships
Shield.
were you on?
The Carl Vinson was my first carrier. Yeah, big nuke.
It was a new class.
Yeah, it's one of
At
the
that
Nimitz
time.
class carriers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was actually, I think when I joined it, it was the newest one. Obviously, it's not anymore. But did 2 cruises on that, and then I was
Now, who was
instructor.
Carl Vinson?
Carl
What
Vinson.
job did he have?
He was a politician, and I believe he ended up being. He was Secretary of Defense at some point, and he was a big fan of the Navy, and so that's why they named the ship after him.
I think he was a congressman originally who went in the. I think the Johnson administration, but it may have been even in
I think it
Kennedy.
was might even before that
Yeah.
time, actually. Yeah.
So you were 2 tours on Carl Vinson.
Yeah, two cruises. So go to Western Pacific. So we go to the Indian Ocean and Japan, Hong Kong.
Go by Taiwan to make sure the Chinese don't.
Yeah, we do that,
attack.
and went to Australia. That was a lot of fun. And then
Now, this would have been in what class were you?
I was 82 from Annapolis.
82,
So
so-
yeah, I was in my first fleet squadron from let me think, 84 through 87.
So you were in the Pacific Theater when Desert Storm broke out?
Well, that was after. So then that was in 1990. I actually was in Desert Shield. I was on the carrier. We just happened to be in the area when the Iraqis invaded Kuwait.
Okay. So
And
you
so
went.
we were the very first guys on the scene, and we stayed there all through that time. And it was kind of disappointing, actually. They sent us home right before the war started because we were the ship I was on, the Independence, was going to Japan, and the Midway was going to retire, and they didn't want to screw up that rotation. So I actually spent all that time in Desert Shield, and then missed the actual war.
Flew sorties of protection.
Yeah, it was pretty intense, actually. In the beginning, we were the only guys there. We were there within basically a day after they invaded, and we started flying sorties up from the North Arabian Sea, up over Oman and United Arab Emirates, all the way up right off of Kuwait City. And you'd send 4 Tomcats up there, and with a little bit of refueling, and that was it. And they had 700 airplanes in their Air Force, so we really didn't know what to expect. It was pretty interesting.
They never came up to meet you though.
No, they didn't. We could see them on the radar. You could see them come out, and they would turn around, and they never came over to the water. Yeah.
I think we got most of them on the ground eventually.
Yeah,
Anyway.
and the ones that did take off didn't land.
So you were reassigned. Now, did you have to go to the Pacific? You went through the Indian Ocean and that way.
You go through the Straits of Malacca and go by Singapore, go that way. So anyway, after I got back from that, I actually was considering getting out of the service at that time, and my dad actually gave me probably the best piece of advice I've ever gotten in my life. I wanted to get out. I had a lot of buddies that were down there and making tons of money in commercial real estate, actually.
Down in Florida?
In San Diego, actually.
Oh, San Diego?
Yeah. And
now, you'd been in 12, 14 years.
about 9 years at that point. And
they don't count Annapolis as part of the...
no, they don't. But yeah, so counting Annapolis would have been 13 years, I guess. So anyway, I considered getting out, and I told him, I think I'm going to get out, Dad. And he's like, well, what are you going to do? I was like, well, I don't know. It takes 9 months from the time you tender your resignation before they let you out. So I'll look for a job once I put in my letter. And he said, well, he was, look, don't get off because you're upset or whatever. He said, get out, you know, when you got something better to do. And I was like, well, it's actually great advice. So I ended up staying in, but I had become very interested in the astronaut program, actually. I had met a guy who had tried to get in a couple times, and he was really encouraging me to do so. So I transitioned to a community you had to apply for to get in called Aerospace Engineering Duty Officer Community. And I was accepted into that, and they sent me back to grad school. So I went to Monterey, and I got a master's in aeronautical engineering. Up there. It was pretty brutal going back and doing that after being out of school for 10 years. And then I came down to Point Mugu, and I did operational testing down there. I was the chief operational test director. And then I applied for test pilot school and got picked up for that. Went back to Patuxent River, Maryland for a year, and then came back to Mugu, and I finished up my career down there doing developmental testing, more the scientific part of it as opposed to the operational. So I finished up testing systems on airplanes they were putting in, missiles, that sort of thing, sensors.
That was long after they kept losing the Tomcats up in the Sierra, in the mountains off of Camino Cielo.
Oh.
Supposedly when they were testing the missiles, originally they lost a few of them up in the mountains.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I don't know if that's true,
Yeah,
but
I don't know.
that would have been back in the 70s or
Yeah,
late 60s.
Anything's possible.
So, was that your last bill? Your last
yeah, my last
duty?
thing. So I retired out of Point Mugu, and
How many years?
Actually, at the time, it was in the late '90s. They were offering a lot of incentives to get out early.
Yeah, they were
And,
cutting back. The
yeah, well, I
Cold War
joined.
was over.
Yeah, I joined a Navy. They had hired people to be in a 600-ship Navy, and we were going to a 300-ship Navy, and it was just way too many people. So
From Reagan to Clinton.
yeah, and so they were offering a lot of incentives to get out early. So I took one of those, and I took a retirement at 16 years and change. And I really had, I tried out for the astronaut program. I got nominated a few times by the Navy, but I never got picked by NASA, obviously. So I really wanted to be an entrepreneur. I always had kind of an entrepreneurial bent, and so I wanted to get out of defense. So I took a job with IBM just to kind of learn software stuff. What?
Well, I was going to tease you when you wanted to get out at 8 years, because there's a very famous man who got out after 8 years, Annapolis graduate, got out after 8 years. He went to work for IBM as a salesman, and most of us know him as Ross Perot.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
you're following
Yeah.
you're following Ross Perot.
Not quite as wacky as Ross Perot.
Not as
I hope.
But remember, you also don't have the billions.
I don't have the billions of dollars either. This is true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, went to work for IBM for a couple years, and this was, you know, the whole .com thing was just going crazy at the time, and I was really chomping at the bit.
Year-wise, that would have been
98 to 2000. I was in IBM.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
Now, you still single?
Still single. So when I retired from the Navy, I was still single, and shortly.
Become the most eligible bachelor in town.
Well, I was living in Oxnard.
Wherever you were.
That's
Well, yeah, boy, you were the most.
well, yeah, it's not the best place to be the happening single guy down there. So, but anyway, I met my wife to be shortly after, probably a couple months after I got out of the Navy, and
What was she doing?
she lived up here and was
In
working.
high school? No, I'm kidding.
in
I'm
high
kidding.
school.
Why did I
Come
say
on.
that?
No,
that was a
she's younger than
terrible
me,
thing.
not that much younger. Yeah, I got in home ec class.
I think we have a picture of your family.
Yeah.
And believe me,
My better
believe
half,
me,
for sure.
Well, that's your son, and then there's your wife.
Yeah, there they are. So
I mean, a
that's,
gorgeous, gorgeous family.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's my wife, Leslie.
And the personalities are, when
yeah.
people meet your family, it's just
thank you.
incredible,
Yeah, yeah.
incredible
She's,
personalities.
I'm very lucky. She's been a great wife, and she's been a real trooper through this whole ordeal. And you can see our little son there, Tommy. I'm a late starter all the way around. He's about 2 years and change, and it's just a blast.
Does he ever stop running?
He does not. He's a wild man, and if I had known it was this much fun having children, I would have started a lot sooner. Actually.
So, what was your wife doing when you met
her? She was working in a startup company here. Actually, wasn't a startup so much at that point. It was Computer Motion up in Goleta. They made medical robotics. Amazing company. Actually, ended up getting acquired by Intuitive Surgical, which is just doing amazing things. A lot of the minimally invasive prostate surgeries and these sort of things. That's their equipment.
One of our crew, Bob Lovegren, I'm almost sure that he did a show on the first company,
Oh, Computer Motion.
Computer Motion,
Yeah.
when they were just
Getting
started. Didn't they come out of UCSB?
They did, yeah.
Yeah, then just when they were getting started, I remember the show because I think some way I was involved with him on it. He loves doing shows on medical and medical breakthroughs.
Yeah.
And so got married.
So yeah, well actually we met on the internet. So this is back in the early days of the web. And when I got to IBM, they gave me a laptop computer. I was a consultant, and Netscape was loaded on it. And I just had some time one day. I was surfing through. There's a bunch of preloaded bookmarks on there, and it was entertainment. And what's this Match.com thing? And so as it turned out, Leslie and I had they give you a free week. Had done our free week. Just happened to be the same week, and we met almost immediately. And 3 years later, we were married.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of was taken aback when you said you met on the internet because you look like maybe if there were 100 people, you would be in the top 20% that would go on the internet to meet someone. But this lady would be off the chart. Why would she be on the internet meeting anyone? Come on.
When you're busy and you're working, it's it's hard to meet people, and as you get older, hang out in bars and do all that sort of thing. So, hey,
we don't.
Well, you might. So, yeah, there's your problem.
Oh boy.
You need to go on the internet.
Wait, where does it say the guest picks on the host? All righty. You started a couple of companies of your own.
Yeah, so while I was at IBM, I met a couple guys there. We were doing media stuff. How you go from flying airplanes to doing media stuff. We made a content distribution system for Warner Brothers, actually, for all of these small cable outlets that were too small to have anybody actually shuffling tapes. They just had a little, thing out in the field with a satellite receiver. IBM developed a system to push content out where you could play local advertising on these very small markets, all centrally controlled from Burbank.
Wow.
A pretty cool system. So it was a very sophisticated content distribution and two-way communication to get back affidavits to play and all that sort of thing. So these guys who asked me to join them had an idea, hey, look, why don't we host a system like this that businesses can use, say Walmart or Home Depot, and they want to have a TV on the end of an aisle telling you all about some new product or something. You could get that content out, make sure
Target
it plays.
does that a lot.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what the company was that we started, and so we went out and right after we got going and got a little bit of seed money, the whole .com collapse happened, and so it was extraordinarily difficult to raise money at that time from venture capital guys. We managed to raise some, and actually built a pretty good product, but the market was not great. I did that for about it's about 3.5 years, and I had moved up to Summerland at the time where I live now. It was commuting down to Encino every day, which is where the company was. It was brutal. So I left the company after that, and I had met some guys up here who have another spin out of the university, and joined with them, and I've been with them ever since, a little over 7 years.
You still have interest in the business?
Yeah, I do.
You're kind of on a sabbatical?
I am on a leave of absence, and I have some ownership stake in the company, but
But you didn't make $1 billion.
No, not yet. Yeah, well, we'll see. Yeah, we're actually doing really interesting things. We make little tunable capacitors fundamentally, and they go in things like cell phones and the like. So the iPhone, you hear all these problems when you grip it a certain way. You're dropping calls, and what's happening is the antenna is being pulled off a frequency by your hand or detuned a lot, and our little device is something you can actually put on the antenna and tune it and get it back on the frequency. So our antenna partner is actually using our parts trying to fix that